Yeah, Terrell and Tanya, still really heavy police presence here near Cermak and State. You can see that police have taped off a portion of the area. Right now, detectives are surrounding a white sedan that appears to be connected to this incident. Chicago police saying that early this morning around 9:30 there was a fight between two women. That scene unfolding here near State and Cermak. One of the women allegedly pulled out a gun and shot the other woman in the face. The 31-year-old victim was taken to the hospital and later died. Now, the suspect has been taken into custody, and Chicago police say this is still a very ongoing investigation. So once again, this taking place here near Cermak in State, still very active as we speak, and we'll get you more information as soon as we get that. But for now, we're live in the South Loop. Lisette Nunez, ABC 7 Eyewitness News. Back to you guys.
Picture this. It's a beautiful September morning in Chicago. A mother just dropped her son off at school. She packed his lunch with care, tucked a handwritten note inside telling him how much she loved him, how proud she was of him. Within hours, that same mother would be lying on the pavement, shot multiple times in broad daylight. And here's the kicker. The person who pulled that trigger walked free. No charges. Nothing. Before we dive into this absolutely infuriating case, if you're new here and you want to stay updated on cases like this where justice seems to take a back seat, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and turn on that notification bell for CSI Crime Archives. Because stories like Romika's need to be told, and they need to be heard. Now let's talk about Romeca Meeks-Blackmon. And I mean really talk about her, because she wasn't just another statistic, another news headline that fades away after a week. She was 31 years old, full of life, full of dreams. The kind of woman who lit up a room when she walked in. Her family called her Big Meeks, not because of her size, but because of her presence, her personality, the way she took up space in the best possible way. Romika was a devoted mother to her 6-year-old son. I want you to understand what that means. This wasn't someone just going through the motions of parenthood. This was a woman who poured her heart into raising her child. Every morning, she made sure he had everything he needed. She was there for school drop-offs, for homework, for the little moments that make childhood special. She was working hard to build a better future, not just for herself, but for her son. Romika was in school, studying to become a nurse. Think about that for a second. She was choosing a profession built on caring for others, on healing, on compassion. Her mother, Tina McMiller, described her as kind, sweet, loving, supportive. An amazing mother. These aren't just empty words people say when someone dies. If you look at Romika's life, you see the evidence everywhere. She was the type of person who showed up for people, who made sure the people she loved felt that love every single day. But like so many women, Romika had a complicated past. She had an ex-boyfriend named Carlos Way. You might know him by his street name, Lozos. They shared that beautiful 6-year-old son together. But their relationship had ended, and not on good terms. In fact, it had gotten bad enough that Romika had taken out a restraining order against him. Let that sink in for a moment. She felt unsafe enough, threatened enough, that she had to get the law involved to keep him away from her. Now, Carlos had moved on. He had a new girlfriend, a woman named Holly Johnson, though she also went by Quadaja Johnson. Holly and Carlos had a child together too. So you've got this messy situation, right? 2 women, 1 man, children involved, restraining orders, all the ingredients for drama. But here's what you need to understand. Romika wasn't out here trying to cause problems. She wasn't chasing after her ex. She had moved on with her life. She was focused on her son, on her education, on building something stable and good. According to what came out later, Holly claimed she had a restraining order against Romika too. So both women supposedly had legal protection from each other. In theory, they should have been kept apart by the law. In theory, everyone should have stayed in their own lanes, focused on co-parenting and moving forward. But that's not what happened. September 8th, 2025. That morning started like any other for Romika. She got her son ready for school, made his lunch, and here's the part that absolutely breaks my heart. She wrote him a note. A simple, beautiful note that said, "You can start off strong. Always remain yourself. You're the coolest, smartest, and funniest kid I know. I love you so much, and you make me so proud. Have a great day. Mommy loves you. Love, Mommy." Can you imagine? She had no idea what was coming. She was just being a good mom, sending her kid off with encouragement and love. The days that followed were devastating for Romika's family. Her mother, Tina McMiller, was suddenly responsible for raising her 6-year-old grandson, a little boy who had lost his mother in the most traumatic way possible. Tina described how he had completely shut down. He didn't want to be around anyone. He was grieving in the way children grieve, with confusion and pain and a loss he couldn't fully understand. On September 12th, just days after the shooting, Tina held a press conference right there at Cermak and State, where her daughter had died.
Tina McMiller stood this morning near Cermak and State, the same spot where 31-year-old Romeca Meeks-Blackmon was shot and killed during a school drop-off on Monday. And she says her daughter was loving, supportive, and an amazing mother.
She loved her son. She loved me. She loved her siblings. And I loved her the same. I want justice. She didn't deserve it.
She stood in that spot and demanded justice. She told reporters, she told anyone who would listen, that her daughter was kind, loving, an amazing mother. She talked about how Romika was in school, working toward her nursing degree, trying to build a better life. That Friday evening, there was a vigil. It was held at 68th and Normal in Englewood, outside Englewood STEM High School. Hundreds of people showed up. They released thousands of pink, white, and silver balloons bearing Romika's nickname, Big Meeks. The sky filled with color, a beautiful tribute to a life cut short. People who knew her shared stories. They cried together. They held each other. They celebrated who she was and mourned who she'd never get to become. But through all of this, one question hung in the air. What was going to happen to Holly Johnson? What about Carlos Way? Would they face charges? Would there be a trial? Would Romika's family get their day in court? And then came the news that shattered any hope for justice. On Friday, September 13th, just 5 days after Romika was killed, authorities made an announcement. They would not be pressing charges against Holly Johnson. They would not be pressing charges against Carlos Way. Let me say that again, because I need you to really hear it. The woman who shot Romika multiple times at close range? No charges. The man who allegedly held Romika while she was shot? No charges. The police called the shooting domestic in nature. Like that explained everything. Like slapping a label on it somehow made it acceptable, understandable, justified. They essentially accepted Holly's claim of self-defense. She had a license to carry. She felt threatened. She protected herself. Case closed. But hold on. Let's break this down because this is where things get absolutely infuriating. Self-defense is a legal concept, sure. It exists for a reason. People have the right to protect themselves when they're in genuine danger. But self-defense has limits. It has conditions. You can't claim self-defense if you're the aggressor. You can't claim self-defense if you had the opportunity to retreat and chose not to. You can't claim self-defense if you used disproportionate force. So let's look at what actually happened here. Holly and Carlos showed up at a location where there was already a conflict. They weren't minding their own business when they were suddenly attacked. They came to the scene, and according to witnesses, Carlos physically restrained Romika, putting her in a headlock. While she was being held, unable to defend herself or escape, Holly retrieved a gun and shot her multiple times.
She's the one who shot her. The order, but she shot her. The gun in the car. Oh my fucking God! The baby in the car. How you close to the truck? Get up. You scared as hell, right? Scared as hell. Scared as hell. That is not self-defense. You were trying to stop her in the car, bro. You were trying to hit the car, bro. What are you talking about? You had her in a headlock. When you shot her, Brody, I was there. I write a statement, Brody. Don't worry about it.
I want her arrested. There's a fucking gun on the street. I'm licensed to carry.
It doesn't matter, dude. It doesn't matter, bitch.
You shot somebody, nigga. What the fuck wrong with you?
Calm down. Calm the fuck down.
She put the gun in the car. The gun, she shot her? Let's go right here. She shot her. She shot her. She put the gun in the car. She put the gun in the car. The gun is in the car. Arrest her.
Does that sound like self-defense to you? Because it sure doesn't sound like it to me. And it didn't sound like it to Romika's family either. Tina McMiller's response to the news was heartbreaking and furious all at once. She said, "Someone has to pay for this. It's not right." And she was absolutely correct. Nothing about this was right. A mother was dead. A child was orphaned. And the people responsible were walking free, going about their lives while Romika's family was left to pick up the pieces. So I'll ask you directly, do you think justice was served in this case? Do you think the right decision was made to not press charges? Can you see any scenario where what happened that morning constitutes legitimate self-defense? Or do you see what I see, which is a system that failed at every possible level? And beyond this specific case, what do you think needs to change? How do we create a system that actually protects victims of domestic violence? How do we ensure that restraining orders mean something, that violating them has real consequences? How do we make sure that justice isn't dependent on the relationship status between victim and perpetrator? Think about Romika's son reading that lunchbox note years from now. Think about him knowing that his mother's last act before dropping him at school was to write him words of love and encouragement. Think about him also knowing that the people allegedly responsible for her death never faced trial, never had to answer for what happened. What does that do to a person's faith in justice, in fairness, in the idea that the system exists to protect people? If this case makes you angry, good. It should. Use that anger. Channel it into demanding better from the systems that are supposed to protect us. Demand that domestic violence be taken seriously. Demand that restraining orders be enforced. Demand that every victim, regardless of their relationship to their attacker, gets real justice, real investigation, real accountability. Don't let Romika's story fade away into just another true crime video you watched one time. Remember her. Remember her son. Remember her mother standing at that intersection demanding justice that never came. Remember what happens when we allow the system to fail people. And if you found this case as disturbing as I did, if you think more people need to hear about what happened to Romeca Meeks-Blackmon, then share this video. Hit that like button. Leave a comment telling me what you think. Subscribe to CSI Crime Archives if you haven't already, because we're going to keep telling these stories, keep demanding accountability, keep refusing to let these cases be swept under the rug just because they're uncomfortable or complicated. Justice for Romika means not forgetting. It means continuing to ask why. It means refusing to accept that domestic in nature is an adequate explanation for why a mother was killed and her killers walked free. She deserved better. Her family deserves better. And every victim of domestic violence deserves a system that actually works to protect them and pursue justice when protection fails. Remember her name, Romeca Meeks-Blackmon. Remember what happened to her. And remember that somewhere in Chicago, a little boy is growing up without his mother because the system decided her life wasn't worth fighting for. That's not okay. It will never be okay. And we can't let it become normalized just because it happens too often. That's it for today's case. Stay safe out there. And remember, if you or someone you know is in a dangerous domestic situation, please reach out for help. Contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline or local resources. Restraining orders aren't perfect, as this case tragically shows, but they're a start. Document everything. Tell people what's happening. Don't suffer in silence. Because your life matters, your safety matters, and you deserve protection and justice.